Brandon, I watched the POV to the Mario Kart ride.
It looks kind of
It
mid.
looks kind of mid.
Yeah.
It's slow as hell.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I thought that was supposed to be a fast-paced game.
It's a
You know
it's
what
a
I mean?
car roller coaster.
It's not a coaster. It's a dark ride.
It should be a
with
coaster. I thought it was gonna be like the car, like
Space
the Cars
Mountain?
ride.
or
No,
that
not even
even.
like yeah, like Radiator Springs or the test track and. But no, it's just a dark ride. You know, so lame.
I've heard it's also like I heard the land is also kind of like they call it
Tiny.
like what is Super Nintendo World, but a lot some people have called it like Super Nintendo Corner.
Yeah, but the food looks good. I
Yeah,
gotta
the
say
food does
that.
look good.
A
Yeah, I'll try
land
it.
shouldn't be an upcharge attraction.
Is it an up? Do you have to pay extra?
Okay, but to get access to like the second attraction, which is essentially just a mini game, you need to gather enough coins, but in order to gather coins, you need to get the power band at the store.
What's
Which
the
is like-
second attraction?
It's just like a mini game that you play with your friends to get more coins. And then you can be put on the top of the leaderboard at the park. I'm just
I don't know if that's worth it. I don't think we're gonna do that when we go. Are we? Do we want to?
we're just gonna walk there and we're gonna be like,
We're gonna go out there.
Ah.
We're gonna ride the two rides, and we'll be like, I'm gonna
One
give you
ride.
the Yoshi.
no, that's not here. It's only in Japan.
Are you serious? It's just Mario Kart. It's not the.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh man. So it's just Mario Kart and the Toadstool Cafe. That's all there is.
Basically.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we still have the rest of the park when we go, right?
Yeah. Dude, Waterworld. I'm so excited to take you guys on Waterworld.
Yeah.
To go to see Waterworld with you guys. I love
we
it.
got to start planning that. Our big extravaganza. Milo's gonna come with us for another show.
Yeah.
He's gonna be cutting class for that. So I'm excited.
He's
By
gonna
the
be
way,
hanging
Milo,
out
if-
with us.
Yeah.
I'll finally meet Milo in person.
You'll finally.
He's
meet him
so
in person.
He
fun.
seems
I
fun.
now like we're publicly holding Milo to join us for this Universal.
Yeah,
Park.
so
We're
Milo
calling
don't
him
bail
out.
on us.
I don't know if he was 100%. I think he was.
Yeah.
But I don't want to speak
Yeah.
for him. But I hope you come,
Yeah.
Milo.
By the way, Milo. I think like a little while ago, I not texted you. I sent you an Instagram DM about the Marcel the Shell figurine that you got from A24, and I bought one, and it's coming in a couple days because they were on back order for like months now. But I'm gonna put my little Marcel the Shell figurine in my on one of my plants. Yeah.
There we go. Is
My
Joey
fault, though.
seeing
'Cause I know
80 for
you-
Brady right now?
Without us?
Doesn't that come out in February?
Yeah, but there's a ladies' night screening.
February
Remember?
3rd.
No,
There's
never mind.
no way he's seeing without us.
No,
I'm
yeah,
gonna,
he
I'm
won't
gonna
do
be
that.
pissed.
I'll be mad at him if he does that. Don't take him to
I'm gonna-
Quantumania or something.
I'm gonna be.
We're not taking him to Mario.
You're not
come to
victorious.
80 for
Fuck
Brady.
you, Joe.
That's what you get, sir.
Maybe this was
Get what
when
you
he went and saw
deserve,
Puss
Joey.
in Boots. I don't know. Anyways, hey guys, didn't see you
Didn't see
there.
you.
We're just hanging out. Yeah, we're just hanging out.
Hey, we're just hanging out. Great. That was. I think we should start every podcast like that. That was fun.
That wasn't my idea, which means it was
Oh.
a good idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Of
Yeah,
course.
that was Chris's idea, which means it was a good.
Yeah.
So, welcome back to Stacked episode 102, everybody. The second episode in the second season. We're since season 2, remember? If you listened to the last episode, you know we're going to be going over different rules, different format to the show here, but same relating movies to topics and talking about movies, but it's going to be more free-flowing. And that's getting a lot better for this topic this week, It's relaxed, it's free-flowing, we're just hanging out. It's hangout movies. Brandon,
Yeah.
you were the one who also pitched this one.
I keep pitching good ideas for episodes, but not good ideas to open episodes.
I don't know. You've had some good ones to open episodes. I feel like Anyways,
Mind?
why Hangout movies? I love Hangout movies.
Yeah, hangout movies are fun.
I just
Tell me about them.
well, it's like January, right? People are wrapping up their breaks, they're hanging out with their friends and doing stuff like that. But I think January, because it's the beginning of the year, there's no like stress of like trying to figure out what to do for a certain holiday because the holiday season's over. And so like hangout movies are all about the low stakes, chill vibes, people just having fun or enjoying their life and like
Yeah.
you getting to like take part in that. Like there's I don't feel like we've talked about enough movies like that specifically about their hangout nature on the podcast. So I thought it was time that we highlight them. I don't think necessarily that 80 for Brady constitutes one, but it could.
Wait, we haven't seen it. We never know.
We
Hey,
never know.
We're gonna be hanging out in that theater. We're gonna have our feet kicked up. We're gonna be just laughing at those old women who are thirsting over Tom Brady. We're just gonna be hanging out. So I think that works. Yeah, I love hangout movies, or as I like to call them, movies that are about nothing, that are about everything. That's how I always feel like hangout movies are. You know, there's no clear direction in where these characters are going, but just the process of these filmmakers having us exist with them and learning about them, how they see the world, how they see each other, I think tells more than stories with a strict linear narrative, you know? So I'm gonna be talking about some all timers here. A lot of my favorite films are hangout movies. I realized, so I'm excited to talk about it. Chris, was this an easy topic for you to pull movies for, or what was it like for you?
It was pretty easy on my end. A lot of movies that I do like also fall under this, and because hangout movies is a pretty subjective concept to some extent. Like you could probably make some arguments for certain movies, but there are definitely some that are like very obviously a hangout movie, or to some extent is just a straight up hangout movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I pulled a couple of ideas, and I'm excited to hear what you guys brought to the table today.
Well, let's get to it. Let's start talking about these movies. Brandon, since you thought of this topic, do you want to start with your first hangout movie? Just like let's get this discussion rolling with a film,
Yeah. I will always mention this movie because it's the first one that comes to mind. It's from a director who only does hangout movies, basically. I'm doing Richard Linklater's Everybody Wants
Some. I figured you'd pick this one.
And it's not because Ethan hates it because of how the dudes acted the movie. It's genuinely because there's an aimlessness to these characters that is very endearing, and it fits the idea of a college coming of age story dash low stakes 80s comedy, or the 70s comedy. And I love that. And it's just these guys listening to music, getting high, playing baseball, going to parties, chatting with girls, socializing, going to bars. That's it. And there is a deeper meaning I find in the film, even though some other people might not find it. But I mean, it's quintessential in like that aspect. How could you go without it?
I could go without it, and here's why.
Jesus.
This movie didn't speak to me when I saw it. I remember Brandon spoke highly of it, and I do like me some Richard Linklater. I like it before what's the Sunset? That's the second one.
Yeah.
Before Sunrise. That one's okay. But I love I love Jack Black, School of Rock. I think he's a cool dude. So I went to go check out this movie, and I don't understand why Linklater depicted the characters that way, because he makes them do obviously we talk a lot about like you should be able to like enjoy movies with protagonists whose morals and actions don't line with your own, right? That's something we often talk about. But I feel like what Linklater does in this film is not like what maybe we'll bring up this movie. I don't know. Paul Thomas Anderson does in Licorice Pizza. Where that's a hangout movie. Here we can use that for a point of comparison. Where those are characters who are obviously flawed people. But there's never once where I feel like the director's like, like, wasn't it great being like one of these people, and like believing what they believe. I often felt like Linklater was like, he kept going back and forth and showing that they were bad people, but also like sort of like idolizing that. And I just found that weird.
Well, I mean, as college students, like, I mean, I don't think I would have like idealized that, but as like a teenager or college boy, I feel like they would have that sort of like idolization of people who are older than them because they don't know where they're going. And that's why everybody's so immature, except for the one baseball player played by your favorite character in the movie.
Wyatt Russell.
Your favorite, Wyatt Russell. He's
his
the best
arc.
part.
And
he's great. No, he's in half of it.
Barely.
And I think that...
He's barely in half of it.
But yeah. I really like the movie. I mean, I get it because it's pretty raunchy, but raunchy for the sake of you might not even like the comedy raunchy because it takes some swings. But I don't think it's any worse than like Linklater's Dazed and Confused, which is another classic that people talk about.
Maybe I gotta check out that one because, I haven't seen that one yet. But everyone, I feel like everyone says Everybody Wants Some is the sequel to Dazed and Confused. And maybe if I see him, maybe I'll get a better understanding of that movie if I watch the other one. I don't know. But it didn't work for me. But it did introduce me to, I think, one of the best, which is weird. This movie came out like in 2013, 2012. When did this movie come out?
Wait, this came out in like 2017.
Did it really? 2017? I thought it was older than that. Glenn Howard, right? He's a great up and coming actor. Even though he was in a Spy Kids movie, wasn't he?
Maybe. Maybe. I don't think so.
Anyways, he's an up and comer, and I can't wait to see what he does. Yeah, I think, okay, I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's a good hangout movie though, because it does, like what you said, how this movie is structured. I think it's structured very well. I just don't like the characters and how he depicts them. But I think I'll carry on a very similar structure to the Hangout movie where I'll bring up a movie that doesn't really have that many consequences or anything like that. It's a low stakes movie. I'm going to talk about Jim Jarmusch's Patterson.
Oh, great choice. I don't even think I
choice.
wrote this down, but
I
would. I mean, I get it. There is like literally nothing that happens in this movie. Yeah.
Well, one thing happens in this movie,
and it's devastating.
And it is the most. But then it is like, it is so therapeutic to see how Patterson handles that thing. Where he's just like, he gets upset. All right, we're gonna spoil Patterson. Patterson spoilers. Come on.
Chris has seen it, right?
Chris, you've
Yes,
seen
I
Patterson?
have.
Okay, we can talk about Patterson. Anyways, Patterson, he's a bus driver. He writes poetry. That's the movie. He has a lovely wife, a dog. Everyone likes him. There's no tension in the movie. He just writes poetry, drives the bus.
Talks to people.
There's the guy from The Good Place is constantly, he has girlfriend problems, right?
Yeah.
And he's constantly helping him out there. And then one day he uses this journal, this book, for all of his poetry that he writes. And that is like the thing in his life that like is the object that matters the most to him, because that's how he's able to express himself and how he sees the world and everything, how he's experiencing and journaling his day-to-day life through poetry. His dog rips it to shreds, and when I saw that, I was just like, no,
It's crazy. It's crazy
yeah.
how one little thing seemingly is just like massive.
Tiny thing is just that's like it was like as devastating as the snap from Infinity War.
Yeah.
I was like, no, the poetry book, damn it. But then he's just like, he's upset, but then he's like, it's just a dog that did it, and he just moves on, and it's just like, holy shit, like that's the secret
that's
to
just
life. That's just life.
That's just
You just gotta move on.
I've only seen this movie one time, and I think it
too.
was probably before I got a letterboxed. But the fact that I still remember, like, the bus driving and him talking to his guests and talking about, like, what it's like on his drives, sitting in, like, foresty areas and helping people, like you said, helping that guy with his girlfriend, and then talking to his girlfriend and not having, like, fights or anything. But then I can remember all of that in the one climactic piece of Hangout hell. I love it. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so good. But yeah, that's what I want to talk about, because I feel like it's very similar. Because I feel like there can be some ways Hangout movies are structured differently, and I feel like that one's pretty similar to Everybody Wants Some. Where it's just like it is completely inconsequential throughout. Chris, do you have any other films that sort of follow this? Before we move on to different types of Hangout movies.
I think, and I do. Well, what came to mind when you were talking about the book where he writes poetry into, and like the devastating moment when the dog tears it apart. I was thinking like, okay, what are some other moments in movies where like something so, in the grand scheme, pretty meaningless, but like it's so devastating in that moment because you know how meaningful it is to this person. And this is also a Hangout movie that I think we all watched together a few years ago. Nomadland, the China that falls out.
Oh,
of the
yeah.
There we go.
That hurts.
Another fantastic Hangout movie.
I remember Jack was
especially-
sleeping above because
Yeah.
I was living with Jack at the time. He was sleeping, and then we went, oh, and then we were all like, because we were like, Jack.
we
Jack's
didn't want to
sleeping.
wake him up.
Yeah.
But like that scene also hurts doubly when you find out that that's actually Frances McDormand's like fine china. Like they brought it on set because they wanted to be like super authentic. And that was not planned. So
I don't think they
that
meant
hurts.
to break it.
Yeah, but Nomadland's also just generally a really good Hangout movie because I think it does a really good job of like, because there's like that ambient kind of aimless quality to it that I think kind of is instilled across the board with these kinds of Hangout movies, and I think Nomadland takes full advantage of that and uses it to lean into its social critique. And yeah, I think it's really great. Brandon, you're a big fan of Nomadland.
Yeah, I think
Anything you want to add about this movie?
I mean, as far as what we've talked about, it's gotten progressively more dramatic,
Mm-hmm.
But I think what sets Nomadland apart from a lot of the Hangout movies that are in the genre per se is because I think it tries to tell a story that is important, like on the surface. Because Patterson and Everybody Wants Some are about like normal people, everyday life. One's a coming of age story. One's kind of a romance. It's very romantic in its screenwriting. But yeah, this is like far more important on its surface because it's tackling class and labor in America and the idea of traveling and manifest destiny and the American dream as a concept. And it's still great, but like you said, the stakes are still extremely low. And that doesn't mean like it's very relaxing, like Patterson and at times with Everybody Wants Some, but that doesn't mean it can't still be a Hangout movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because Hangout movies, they don't have to be always relaxed.
Yeah, Hangout movies can be quite
Stressful.
if you really lean into it.
Yeah. Sometimes when we hang out, it's very stressful. When Brandon starts going on his tirades about the Boss Baby franchise, and
Boss Baby 2 is a very good movie. You need to watch it before you knock it.
I get scared.
Boss Baby 1 is okay, but it's nothing like
I get
great.
stressed and scared when Brandon talks about the Boss Baby movies.
Alec Baldwin
I
gives
chew
his
on my
best
nails.
performance.
His best and last performance before he goes to prison for life.
Only 18 months, actually, but that's
Only
crazy.
18 months?
But yeah. But that's
Oh,
still
man.
crazy. Anyway.
Anyway. Crazy movie. Nomadland, it's a lot different because I always feel like Hangout movies are confined to a space or a town, you know? But this one is just like the open, you know, just like the open lands of America, something that we never really see before, you know, the pit stops along the road, just along, you know, the highways and stuff like that. And I think this was also, I'm glad this won Best Picture for 2020 because I feel like this was like, it came out at the perfect time, you know?
Yeah, it really did.
Where we have all just been so like confined to, you know, our spaces because of quarantine and everything like that, that we see this movie and this person just being just like as free as someone can be, you know? And it's almost meditative, you know, how to watch that process that Frances McDormand her character goes through, you know. Very good movie. Very good. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Anyone else got something we could roll off?
I can throw some.
Yeah.
I can throw something in there. What could I throw in here? Well, we were talking earlier about how in Hangout movies, a lot of people immediately think like these movies have to be incredibly chill, and oftentimes they are. But that doesn't mean that you can't integrate tension or other genre elements into the film to kind of maybe give it a little kick, a little more, I don't know, whatever it is you're looking for.
Yeah.
And a movie that came to mind for me is Chungking Express, which we watched recently, Ethan. This is very much a Hangout movie.
I got words to say about this movie.
Yeah, I will save you most of it, but I'll just quickly say Chungking Express is a wonderful Hangout movie. I think it does a really good job of kind of showing you the beauty of the everyday in a sense, and like it goes about showing these very ordinary things in this very like almost like mystical, larger than life kind of aesthetic, and it has this kind of vividness to it.
Yeah.
So you know, it's almost like romanticizing the time, which you know, I think is really cool for a movie from 1994. Yeah, I think there's just so much to say about this movie. But Ethan, I'll let you do the heavy lifting because I've talked about this movie a million times before.
Well, this movie is very, very important in terms of I feel like it's now very important for me in terms of just like seeing how I've grown as how I've grown as a person who views art and views, you know, how my palette has grown, because the first time I watched this, I don't know if this was your guys' first time. Was this your first time?
Nope.
No, definitely not.
This was like that was like my fourth time.
Oh, really? Brandon, was this your first time seeing Chungking? Was Film Aesthetics? Yeah. We watched it in the Felino Theater my freshman year. It was my very first semester at Chapman. We watched this movie, and bear in mind, my favorite films going into Chapman, like Ant-Man. I mean, most of them were the same, but you know,
just Ant-Man.
Just Ant-Man. No, Ant-Man, The Thing, Big Lebowski, Muppet Movie. Anyways, that's nothing to do with my point. I don't even know why I brought my favorite movies. I'm just my palette was not, you know, as grand as it was now. I didn't know how to talk about movies back then. So when I saw Chungking Express for the first time, I didn't get it at all. I was so confused what was going on. I was like, why is the frame rate so dumb? Why is it doing that? And then why is it two different stories? Why did the story just stop and go to another one? And that one's not going to get resolved. Why do they keep playing California Dreamin' all the time? You know, and I gave it 2.5 stars when I first watched it, and boy howdy, do I want to go back in time and like pick myself up by the collar and just be like, what was wrong with you? Because Chris showed it to me again in December, and it changed everything. It changed everything of how I view movies as like pieces of pieces of a person's soul, and how they like view like just even their surroundings, how they view their surroundings, time. It's one of those movies where I can feel a living, breathing soul behind the camera at every single moment, every single frame in that film. I can like see Wong Kar-wai, you know, I can see him. And it's such an inspiring movie about using what you have to make a film, using the space, you know, to create this really beautiful story about, you know, it follows two people who are like very lost when it comes to love, you know, and it just goes through like how they try to grapple with that in their daily life. And it looks so beautiful. I still can't get over, Chris, you telling me the detail about the shots when everything's going really fast around them, but they're going slow. How they filmed that.
Yeah,
they just got Tony Luring to just like sip that coffee like insanely slow over like the course of an hour.
Down the shutter speed, yeah. And double the frames, yeah.
Oh my god.
It's this weird process called step printing, I think.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. But it's such a cool effect.
And also knowing that he took a break from, was it the Grandmaster to do this movie?
Ashes of Time.
Ashes of Time, okay. Because
Get
he
it
was...
right.
Okay. Hostile. I got it wrong, sorry. Just to like reinvigorate like his creative juices. And I felt like that was the same thing to me. Like when I watched the movie, my creative fluids were reinvigorated, you know?
Yeah.
Brandon doesn't like that my fluids are reinvigorated.
Or creative. Frankly.
Quite frankly.
Yeah. Brandon, I would love to hear what you think about this movie now.
I like the movie. I mean, like, for me, I always got the sense of it's like this two stories that are very similar about people longing for something more. And the aesthetics, which are the high and slower frame rates, indicate that their personal feelings. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like in the time where everything around them's going so fast, it's like brief snapshots are like recorded like a piece of memory. Now, I haven't seen Aftersun, but I've heard Aftersun does something similar with video in that regard. Am I wrong?
Not as well, in my opinion. But
not as well in Chris's opinion.
Not in my opinion as well. Not nearly as well.
But I'm just saying, in terms of what it's intended to do, it's doing that. And I like the movie. I prefer one of the storylines over the other. I know they coexist thematically, and I would love to give all of Wong Kar-wai's movies a watch and or rewatch, just to get some fresh eyes, because I think, in addition to like getting myself to 4,000 films this year total, I want to do some deep rewatches on some of my favorite movies that I haven't watched in like half a decade to a decade. Because I feel like the past 2 years I've prioritized watching new things, and I'm going to watch new things.
This month has been very rewatch heavy for you, mister.
Yeah.
They call you Mr. Rewatch now. I never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah. Ethan and I would get on each other about rewatching stuff. But anyway,
you used to yell at me. You used to hit me, yell at me. You'd feed me pennies. You'd put me in a cage.
But you liked it.
In a cooler. In the trunk.
But you liked it.
It doesn't matter if I liked it or not. It just matters that you did that.
But
for the record, I did not. None of that happened. Nor would I like that. Okay, I just want to put the record out for anybody, because sometimes our jokes can be misconstrued.
Isn't it crazy how you guys are like the only people on Earth, it seems, who don't like After Sun as much as like everyone else?
I know, it's weird.
It's so crazy.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it, so like I can't speak on.
Everyone's
the
saying
quality.
it's best of the year, and when Chris and I saw it, we were just like, okay.
Okay.
It was fine.
All right.
Same thing's happening to me with Puss in Boots right now. Everyone is loving that movie.
That movie has
Chris
a 4.3 on Letterboxd.
Chris and I are. I think we're
You
in the
guys
same
like it.
camp.
I thought
we
it was
like
alright.
the movie. We like it. We don't love it. There's the A plot is amazing. The B plot is
it's very
stereotypical, and then the C plot is like, really?
Oh, I couldn't stand those the three bears. I was like, if I hear another Three Bears pun, I'm gonna start taking my car key and start shredding this leather seats in the theater. I'm gonna start keying the seats if I start hearing this one's two, this one's two, this one's just right. I was like, we get it. You're the Three Bears, all right. And I get and just like the way their story ends was just like I was waiting for it for the very first time they introduced him. You know?
Yeah,
I was like,
me too.
all right.
Yeah, and like the secondary villain is stupid.
Jack Horner. So
yeah,
I did not like that little dog. I thought
he's
awful.
fine, but it's like so predictable that it's for kids. You know, that's the kids are watching it for.
Puss in Boots is not a hangout movie.
It's not.
There's a clear MacGuffin and a goal they have to go to. So let's stop talking about it. Brandon, talk about another hangout movie.
Okay, here's an experimental one. I don't think I've brought it up on the pod because I could say that a lot of early Wong Kar-wai is pretty experimental in its style. I'm picking a 2020 movie that neither of you guys has seen, from Carlos Lopez Estrada. You know who he is.
Yeah.
Summertime. I'm picking Summertime.
Summertime.
Have I mentioned this on the pod?
I don't
know.
Is it a documentary? Is it a documentary?
No.
Did you not talk about it for docs?
No,
Did you talk about it for the best of the year of 2020?
I might have mentioned it, but it's been a while. It's been enough.
Isn't it crazy that we've been doing this show since 2020? We're in our third year stacked.
That's crazy. 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
We're hitting 3 years in like 6 months. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hollywood. No.
Hollywood. Hollywood. Wait, no. Sorry.
Wait. Sorry. That was
What?
Sorry.
Can I ask where that was going?
I was
Hollywood.
I read
Hollywood.
another. Guys, I'm writing notes for this season, and
And now you're stumbling over your notes.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why I don't write notes, because I get tripped up. But Summertime is this story of multiple people. You love anthology stories, right, guys? Like stories.
Yeah.
Like Chunky Express is very much an anthology.
It's an anthology. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
two. It's
Fallen Angels is technically its third.
Right. It's a portrait of a location as much as it's the portrait of the people inside the film. The filmmaker, Carlos Lopez Estrada, gathers a bunch of poets, not actors, poets, and essentially has them rehearse their poetry in between actual scenes of dialogue as it relates to a plot as they go through the city of LA during one day of the year. So
do they go to Hollywood?
Yeah, they do go to Hollywood.
They go to Hollywood.
They go to Hollywood. And
there you go. I helped you out.
Yeah. and it's extremely satisfying to see all these people hanging out in their everyday lives. There's no plot. It doesn't really follow a thorough line in terms of what it's trying to say about any particular story. Like, each of the stories is essentially leading up to Seize the Day, but there's no thorough line in connecting the characters. It just sort of happens that some of them come together at the end of the night during a raid on a fast food restaurant. That's all I'm going to say.
Can you tell me which fast food restaurant it is?
It's like an Omega Burger type place.
Is it Jack in the Box? Oh, damn.
No.
Nice try.
How dare you?
Sorry, keep interrupting you. Keep talking.
But it's a very cathartic movie that is done in such a unique way and still captures this hangout aesthetic because it's just people walking around talking, saying poetry, singing in some cases, having a vivid imagination. So it's like the stuff that dreams are made. Honestly, and I say this not very lightly, and I hope it gets Ethan to actually want to watch this movie. I think it's a more modern version of Akira Kurosawa's Dreams.
Whoa.
Speaking of that, did you know they remade Ikaru?
Yeah, with Bill
starring
Nye. Yeah.
I had no idea that was a remake of Ikaru.
Yeah, I knew. Because it translates to live.
Oh. I don't know Japanese. I didn't know that. My dad saw it. He said it was really good. Saw it in New York. Anyways.
I've heard it's actually a good remake of a foreign film. But anyways, how does that sound, folks?
Well, that sounds pretty good, Brandon. You certainly hooked, line, and sinkered me there. I love Los Angeles, and to see how people. Chris is like, do you though? I mean,
the Valley only, bro. LA sucks.
Yeah.
Don't
LA's...
do your Rick and Morty voice this week in the podcast.
No, for some reason my voice is raspy. Probably because I ran 7 miles per hour at the gym today, as opposed to my 5, and that kind of fucked me up.
Of all weeks to be doing that this week.
Sorry. So I'm just sipping water. There, I feel good. My throat is cleared. I'm not doing my Rick and Morty impression, though.
Anymore.
If they do want to hire a new Rick and Morty, it could be me. I could be the new Rick and Morty. But I don't love LA. I love the Valley. You're right. But I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I like where I live. Hollywood, baby. Hollywood.
I mean, it takes place all over, like Hollywood and LA, Chris.
Does it take place in La Palma?
No.
Cerritos?
I said LA and Hollywood.
Los Angeles County is Cerritos.
Really?
I think Cerritos is. I think La Palma is literally the border. I think La Palma is in Orange, and then Cerritos is in LA County.
That's crazy.
Yeah, right.
I'm super far away. I'm a county away from y'all.
Yeah, catch up.
But yeah, I mean it's a very yeah. I was gonna say the same thing. But I don't know, Chris. Do you have any input thoughts? You like Carlos Lopez Estrada, except for Ryan the Last Dragon.
Yeah, Ryan the Last Dragon sucks, but I honestly don't even really believe that he directed that. Blind Spotting is fantastic. I'll give him that.
Oh, yeah.
As far as I mean, I don't know anything much about Summertime, but that the concept itself does sound really unique and really neat. I do like the idea. It's just like when it comes down to like stuff like that where you're maybe doing something a little quote unquote experimental, it can easily go awry because experimental stuff just sometimes just doesn't work for me, but sometimes it really does. And I like the idea of poetry being used to kind of convey the essence and like heart of a city. As much as I shit on LA, like, you know, it's got stuff. It's got some stuff.
I'm with you,
and like, yeah. I think. Let me think. Like, I'm trying to think. Is it? I
don't know if I could compare it to any movie that I've seen.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, do I know anything that's even remotely similar?
It flows
In that way,
extremely
no.
well. Like, extremely well.
Because that's my main concern, that, like, there's, like, there would be, like, an abruptness between the poetry and the actual narrative.
Well, it's like this, right? They're all, like, little short stories being told, but the characters come back around, which is something that I think could be seen in, like, an ensemble piece, like one of the shittier ensemble pieces out there. Like a New Year's Day or something, New Year's Eve or whatever it was called, Valentine's Day. Those movies.
Have you seen?
Also, sorry, go ahead.
Have you seen Paris Je t'aime? Is it like that?
No, I haven't.
I've seen that.
About Paris.
I've seen parts of that.
Yeah.
Because
that's literally just a bunch of filmmakers made short stories taking place in Paris. Is it kind of like that?
It's similar, but here's the difference. there is no, you know how there's like cuts between stories to let you know what stories are like separated.
Right. Yeah.
It's in this, it's like somebody walks by, and instead of the camera sticking on the characters that you're with, it transfers over like fluidly to the next story. So it's like two people crash like their skateboards into each other. They're like, "Hey, watch where you're going, man," or something like that. Or these two people are walking out after doing their poetry thing of a therapy session, and there's like a guy spray painting on the wall, and it's a conversation with him and a police officer, and it like flows like that as a film. And yes, there are cuts, but it doesn't have to sequence them with like inner titles or cards that indicate, okay, we're in a new story now. And then at the end of the day, it like becomes much more of a normal film as some of the stories, not all of them, coalesce into one sort of seize the day sort of thing, which I really adored when I watched it. And I hope I get to watch it with you when you guys dig into it. Yeah. I own it. I own one of the few Blu-ray copies out there.
Really? Is it like it's out of print?
It's pretty rare because it was indie movies are becoming harder and harder to find on physical media.
Oh yeah.
Because studios see no need in investing them, and unless they're like big labels like Neon or A24 that can be picked up by Criterion,
yeah,
it's not going to be found. So
that's
yeah.
Ugh. And then when they are found, they're like $40.
But I got it for 20.
Oh, I have a movie to throw in here that might bridge nicely with that film.
Let's do it.
Okay, this is also a favorite of yours, Brandon. We've all seen this, I believe, and yeah, I think we all really like this movie. You were talking about poetry in relation to the narrative. I'm gonna do documentary interviews with narrative. You guys remember the movie Come On, Come On?
Oh fuck yeah! Come on,
Absolutely.
Man. Let's go.
Come on.
Come on.
It's like my pinned letterbox review at the moment.
Yeah.
Go please.
But yeah, Come On is this wonderful movie. It tells a story of I don't even remember the characters' names, but like an uncle and his nephew as they kind of navigate life together because the nephew's mom is dealing with a family-related thing. And it's kind of the story of them like going about their day-to-day lives and kind of learning from one another. One of the fun things about this movie and I mentioned like these doc kind of interviews. Joaquin Phoenix's character is like a
NPR,
like an NPR kind, like a radio kind of guy. I don't even know how to describe it.
He's a podcaster.
I guess a podcaster.
He's like us. Wait. Is this movie
Joaquin?
about us?
And joining the show, Joaquin Phoenix, everybody.
Everybody just yells and screams at each other.
Yeah.
Nobody's civil anymore. Nobody thinks what it's like to be the other guy.
I'm with you, man.
You think men like Thomas Wayne ever think what it's like to be someone like me?
Maybe.
To be somebody but themselves? They don't. They think that we'll just sit there and take it like good little boys. And we won't werewolf and go wild.
But yeah, so in the film, he goes about interviewing kids about like how they feel about the world, what are their ambitions, what are their things they dislike, what are things they like. It's a pretty broad spectrum of topics that these kids cover, but on some level, everything that goes on in this film, like the ambience of Joaquin and his nephew wandering the streets of New York and discovering new things about themselves and one another. It's all felt very organically, and the stuff that happens in relation to the interviews feeds really nicely thematically into what goes on into the characters' lives. At least the way I understood it. And yeah, this is a pretty gorgeous film. Like honestly, I think this movie is gonna climb really high. When this movie come 20 was this a 21 film?
2021.
Yeah.
21.
Yeah. This movie's probably gonna climb like 2021.
What's 9 plus 10?
Over the years.
21.
So,
You stupid.
thumbs up for me for this one. You guys got anything you want to throw in for Come On?
I just thought it was a pleasant movie. I think you said it's about as much as I could say. I thought it was. I didn't love it as much as you two. I thought it was just a great movie. I think the thing I was the most impressed by is we always talk about this when I think we talked about it last episode when we were talking about child actors.
Woody Norman is
Yeah, that kid's amazing.
he is phenomenal. When's he doing something next? You know, like that just felt like a normal ass kid. You know,
yeah.
And he's British.
he's British.
He's British.
Oh,
That's
that-
even better.
that-
He's even
That
better.
just makes it even better.
Yeah, because you couldn't tell.
Oh my god, I didn't even know.
tell.
I thought it was just some random kid they pulled from New York. You know, or no, he
pull-
lived in L.A.
No, they pulled him out of a sewage pipe and
Yeah,
in
right out of the
LA.
Bronx.
He said, "We found this kid. He's gonna be in the movie." He's like, "Have you seen movie?" He says, "Movie, yes." And then they go,
Movie. Hello, I'm the kid from Come On, Come On, Come On, Come On. Anyways, yeah, that's all I gotta say. Anything else you want to add, Brandon?
I mean, like, I love this movie. It's definitely it is like mixing the documentary format in, which I feel like rarely gets touched on. Like, I feel like certain movies try to do it, like She Said tries to do it a lot, and Adam McKay movies try to do it a lot with stock footage or like intercuts with like celebrities talking to the camera that are playing like real life people or real life people, just like explaining concepts.
Yeah.
But here it's like you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not, you know, in terms of what's cinema. And I would say it is probably real based on Meek Mills and his inspirations, probably. But if in that sense, it feels like a Kurosami movie.
Yeah, it's like close up in a weird way.
Yeah,
Oh,
where it's
speaking of- Yeah,
or
Kurosami's
a moment
got
of
some stuff for this one.
innocence too, because there's a movie called A Moment of Innocence that's from I think it's an Iranian movie. It's not from Kurosami, but it does the very similar thing in which it takes actors, and then non-actors and blends them together, so that the audience has a hard time grappling what's real and what's not. The only thing that they know for sure is that the main character's storyline is in fact a storyline in this movie.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's terrific. I love this movie. I think the way it deeply ingrains you in reality when it doesn't try to tell a story and it tries to evoke a vibe.
Yeah.
And these two beings, these people, are hanging out.
Is this a being movie?
Yes.
a human being. Yeah,
Yes, they are beings. They are entities.
Yeah, but they're like together and they're always hanging out, doing things, getting to know each other better. It's almost like a father-son relationship as it unfolds, and a much necessary one for both to have, journey-wise. It is heavier on narrative, but I think the documentary muddles things up in a way that is unique and fresh. Works for me.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, I wanna share some films here because I've only shared one so far.
No,
No. All right.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about one that is. I mean, these next two are like very near and dear to my heart. I think I'll just talk about two more. I got a bunch of others. I'll shut them out at the end. But the next one I want to talk about is. Oh boy, I just rewatched it. It was a movie. I always thought it was a perfect movie, but just this one rewatch that I just did, like, unlocked it to be like, I think it jumped up to number 7 of all time, and that is Sofia Coppola's Lost in Translation. It is. I won't talk too much about it because Chris hasn't seen it. I think he'll adore this movie. All you gotta know is Bill Murray plays this aged Hollywood actor. Like, he used to be a big action star, and he's now just on. He's at the towards the end of his career, where he's just now, he's just doing sponsorships. He's just coming on like talk shows and stuff like that, and he gets a deal for this whiskey in Japan. And so he's doing photo shoots, commercial shoots in Japan, and then it balances that with Scarlett Johansson's character, who is just like this young woman who married young to this photographer who has a job in Japan, and she's sort of just she's feeling lost too because she doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life. You know, she's just following around this guy who doesn't give her as much attention, you know, because he's always so busy. He's kind of a hustler, you know, and it's sort of these two people who are it's sort of capturing the two biggest times in our life when we're lost, which is the moment we're just about to come into adulthood, and then the time when we're like in our midlife crisis, you know. And Sofia Coppola sort of has these two characters, you know, just explore Tokyo and, you know, just every facet, and it's just like it's I have never seen a hangout movie that felt more like a hangout movie. There's a scene where they go and Scarlett Johansson has some friends in Japan, and you know Bill Murray comes with her, and they go and they hang out. They're literally on the couch hanging out, and it felt like documentary to me. It feels like documentary, and it's just such a special movie because I feel like now more than ever, like I'm at that point in my life where I'm in Scarlett Johansson's shoes, where I'm just like, what am I gonna do? You know, what's going on? I'm lost, you know, and the movie is just it's so relaxing. It has one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. I have been nonstop listening to it since I rewatched this film, and I'm probably gonna keep listening to it for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. I will. I actually, fun fact, I have been listening to the soundtrack my whole life, and I didn't even know it. My dad is a big fan of this movie, and he is a big fan of the soundtrack, and he would always play it for me. And I just thought it was just an album, you know, it's just music. And then I watched this movie, and I was like, wait, why do I know every song in this movie? You know, it's great. Chris, I think you really got to see it because it's about yearning for what to do next in life, you know, and
it's a more relaxed Birdman without the element of like coming back. He doesn't need to come back. That's not the point.
He doesn't need to come back. He's just like, you know, because he has a wife and kids. He's like, I'm away from them, and it's just like, am I at the tail ends of this marriage too? Because he's like, it used to be really fun, and I don't know what to do now, you know. And then of course it just takes place in the most beautiful city in the world, Tokyo, with all of its, you know, oh, Chris is like, no. Chris is like, the Valley. No, I'm just kidding. he's still going on about the Valley. No, I know what you're talking about.
He's like, the Valley Boys.
Is there a rivalry between Hong Kong and Tokyo?
It's over which city's more neon. And unfortunately, I think Tokyo wins now.
It wins, yeah, because they're taking.
Because Hong Kong's taking its shit down, which is makes me so mad.
Pollution.
Yeah, big L. I did have I have a movie I want to ask you guys about. I have not seen this movie, but it seems like a hangout movie, but in a very specific kind of way.
Yeah.
You guys both saw this movie, I believe. I want to hear if this movie's a hangout movie. Do you guys remember seeing, I think last year, Memoria?
I mean,
is that kind of a hangout movie in a way? It sounds like it.
Kind of?
I would say no, because there is a goal that Tilda Swinton's character is striving towards. She is trying to uncover it. What?
But does she know?
Yes, because she's trying to find what made that sound. So Tilda Swinton hears this insane, weird sound in the night, and she spends the whole movie like haunted by the sound and trying to figure out what that sound is. And that's
can't believe I guessed what the sound was, right?
I can't either. That's kind of weird, and I feel like you cheated and read like a Wikipedia or something.
I did not.
Don't believe you.
Swear to God.
I don't know how. I don't know how. They gave nothing. There was like no clues that it could have been that. You were just like, oh, it's this. You're just
I was like in my head, you know. I was at the Frida Cinema. I was sitting there with 3 other people. I was like sitting there, and about like 20 minutes in, I'm putting together pieces and theories in my head of what this noise can be, and what I've seen and what's peculiar. And I said, you know what's peculiar? This thing. And I think that's what it might be. And when it gets to the third act, not even the third act, it was just like the last 5 minutes of the movie, I was like, it's either one of two things, and I don't think it's the second thing, and it was the second thing, but I predicted it earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is incredible.
This is incredible. Pat yourself on the back.
I did. Many a time.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone... Brandon, do you want to shout out a third? Because Chris has talked about 3.
Yeah.
Let's go one more from me and you, Brandon. So you go one more.
I feel like... What have we done so far? We did Everybody Wants Some. What was your first one, Ethan?
Patterson.
Chung. Okay. I don't think we've talked enough about... I know Nomadland was discussed, but I don't think we've talked about the element of road trips enough. In our...
road trip.
Specifically tailored to get from point A to point B, or just to go somewhere, to do something. That is a goal that a movie has in mind, but I think consequently, as a result of that goal, it's about the journey, not the destination.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to choose a movie that I just rewatched today. I'm choosing Y Tu Mamá También.
Hey, good movie.
That is a hangout movie. They're doing a
Because
bit more
it's
than
a
hanging
hangout
out, though. I gotta say, that's they're not just hanging out. You know,
They're letting it hang out.
Maybe it is a hangout movie. Damn. All right, I'm picking. This Is the End for my last movie.
Oh, Brand's about to let it hang out.
What the? Oh my god. I'm thinking This Is the End because the giant demon lets it hang out. You know.
That was on my list. That was on my short list.
It actually is a hangout movie.
It is kind of a hangout movie, yeah.
For the other reason that we were talking about, but talk about Y Tu Mamá También.
Well, it was either between this and Easy Rider, a 60s movie that sort of does the same thing on a different scale. One's an American movie about patriotism, about taking literal trips and metaphorical ones. But this one is more so about sexual exploration, class, somebody seizing life. And I feel like hangout movies are the best at doing that, because it's like just these characters talking and explaining their philosophies behind life, while also uncovering deep-seated secrets and insecurities and jealousies about each other and societally. While in the background, there's this whole story going on, much like in Searching, on the side of the screen when there's the alien subplot. You know, it means little to anything, but it's fun. But in Y Tu Mamá También, the political stuff means little to the overarching plot, other than it relating its characters class-wise to how Mexico is evolving at the time, and is more so about, I think, establishing a tone and a place and a location to juxtapose.
Mm-hmm.
And just juxtapose the relaxed nature of this road trip with the more dramatic and ugly undertones that are happening with the political revolution. It's kind of like how Roma does it. Cuarón's later Roma does it, although that's more overt.
Right, definitely.
And so Y Tu Mamá También is great at doing all those things. And it's laid back. It's about these friends reconnecting and then disconnecting over time. And that's super sad. But it's kind of what life is. Sometimes you're friends with people forever, from when you're born to when you die, when you meet them in high school to when you meet them in college. But sometimes those friendships just dissipate because of something that happens or whatnot.
Or just naturally,
Or just naturally, you stop talking. And that this movie beautifully captures that over just them hanging out, taking a trip to a beach that may or may not exist. And I love it. I remember loving this movie a lot when I saw it for the first time in the Felino. This is my first time watching it since, and I gotta tell you, like, I think even from my more mature brain that can analyze the background story more and knows a little bit more of the history, I liked it even more. And that's saying something from a film that's in my top 10.
Yeah. it's always so satisfying when one of your all-time favorites, when you rewatch it and you just unlock even more to it, you know, because you're like,
Yeah.
I thought because that's how I felt with Lost in Translation. I was like, I thought there was everything like to feel from this movie, you know, but now I'm feeling more because I'm older, you know. Oh,
Right. You evolve with the movies. The movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, like, you may like a movie for a few different reasons. Like, you may have liked the banter in Y Tu Mama Tambien, but maybe it's the messaging that sticks with you on this time around.
yeah, definitely. I gotta rewatch this film so bad. This was the movie, I think. When did we watch this? Was it
Was
Film
it
history.
analysis?
It was film history.
history.
May 8th, 2018. I got it because that's the only time I've ever watched it was our film history because we were talking about Mexican cinema. I think that was the first time I was introduced to Gael Garcia Bernal and Diego Luna. No, because I saw Coco and
But you
Gael
didn't
Garcia-
know that was
I didn't
Gael
know it was
Garcia.
them. I didn't know it was him, and I saw Rogue One, but I didn't know, you know, I didn't really know who they were. But now, once I saw this movie, I'm like, I understand why these are like some of the greatest actors ever lived because there's such a good duo in this movie. Oh my God. You're right, Brandon. Like, what a friendship, what a bond that they have, and how it's so complex, how it evolves, you know, from the very beginning to the end. And, you know, the relationship with Maribel Verdú and how, like, that dynamic and her story about like what she needs to do with like her goals, you know, and it is a beautiful movie about you're right, there's a lot of political stuff that goes on, you know, and that's sort of what we viewed the film through when we were looking at Mexican cinema in the class, you know, but it's also just like a movie about the human condition. You know what I mean? Because
To live.
to live and to love, to eat, pray, love. You know?
No.
No.
Compared to that.
Is that a Hangout movie? I've never seen it.
Me neither.
Probably.
Probably. Guys, I know
Have
we're
none of
watching
us seen
tonight.
Eat, Pray, Love?
No.
No, we're not.
Why not?
No.
Anyways,
It's not good enough.
great movie. Chris, what do you think, dude?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when we first saw this movie. I've only seen this movie the one time. It was a movie that, like, I think I definitely really loved. I loved, like, the authenticity that comes out through the characters. I think there's something very tangible about that, about their dynamics, as well as just the way the film is presented. I think a lot of people, when they first see this movie, they immediately are like, sex, you know, and, like, they laugh at, like, the pool scene, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
It's
like,
short, but
yeah, and, like, I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like I don't mind like how do I put this? When
don't
that
mind
laughter
sex.
happens. No, I don't mind sex. But but when, like, in that scene, like, I remember, like, when we were watching that movie, I remembered, like, getting the vibe in the theater, in the Felino Theater at Dodge, that, like, half the people were, like, into it and really getting into the characters and the story at hand, but the other half were just kind of like, sex road trip movie. You know what I mean? It's kind of like how I imagine people felt about, like, let's say, I mean, chunking, for example.
I mean, it is about that, but, like, that's not the, like, I mean, I think as a freshman in college, with all these other
Probably.
horny college freshmen, that's probably what a lot of people gleaned. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gleaned a lot of that too. And it
Yeah,
wasn't until
true.
our class on Mexican cinema that we, like, discussed the film after that I kind of picked up on more of the undercurrents. And then
Mhm.
this time around, I picked up on more of the storylines and, like, with Maribel Verdú's character and how that wrapped up, but also, like, the point of her character and why she's on this trip with them.
Yeah.
Rather than being just this, like, conquest for them, it's like she has, like, a beautiful arc. And the boys arc wraps up I love it. I don't want to spoil it, but it's so ambiguous, and because the Corone leaves it in such an authentically interesting and weird place that you're questioning A, their sexualities, B, their connection and closeness and why it changed, and why the backdrop of this was the case, and why as teenagers you grow out of friends and grow into others. I don't know, man. It's crazy.
Ugh. Good movie. All right, we're
Yeah.
going over an hour here, so we talked about this movie to death, so let me just bring it up. I feel like it's the ultimate hangout movie. It's The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I figured someone else going to say it.
Go
It is, and it is.
If you want to just go into in depth on this, go listen to the after hours that Chris and I did together. We spend like half an hour on that movie, you know?
Yeah. I know. I heard it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm talking to the listeners though. Go check that out. I highly recommend it. Do you want to defend yourself? All right, Mr. Pizza Maker. While you were making the movie or watching the movie, you weren't making the movie. You didn't make this movie.
I made this.
You made this movie and you don't even like it. What's wrong with you?
Is that you?
It's a very dude philosophy. I was intoxicated, and that was part of it.
I think you should watch it with Evelyn. I bet she'll like it. And then you'll
think
feel
she
really
would
bad
like
about
it,
yourself. Anyways,
Before we wrap it up here, do you mind if I throw in some quick honorable mentions? Because I had
what
my
are
list
you
is
doing? Hold on. Brandon's
I think
making a
that's just him fucking with
ruckus.
you.
I apologize to all the listeners. Brandon's slamming the table and hitting glasses. He's throwing a little tantrum. All right, let's do honorable mentions. I got some too. Chris,
Cool.
do you want to shout some out?
Cool. Yeah, I have two. Well, I have four, but two of them are like more like depressing hangout movies, which are Taste of Cherry by Abbas Kiarostami and Cleo from 5 to 7 by Agnes Varda.
Okay.
Those movies are really sad. And then I'm surprised none of us mentioned this. A Studio Ghibli movie. I want to throw in Kiki's Delivery Service.
Well, I was going to talk
That's
about
a better one.
I was going to talk about Totoro for mine.
Totoro's good too. Yeah.
But
Kiki's
I'm
is
like,
better
I have a
than
whole
Totoro.
video essay on that. You can watch that.
Yeah. The last one I'll throw in is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's a very fun movie.
Yeah, that was another honorable mention for me. I'm gonna do Totoro, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I gotta shout out according to Sight and Sound, the greatest film of all time, Jean Dielman. She's hanging out, you know. That's a hangout movie.
One could say.
One could say, you know, she's chilling, she's hanging out. I would
Doing
say,
a lot though.
I think Wet Hot American Summer is a hangout movie because, you know, that's just them doing their
Last day of camp.
Last day of camp, you know. I'm trying to think what else. Maybe I'll think of more. Brand, do you want to shout out some?
Yeah. Wayne's World. Big hangout movie.
I've never seen Wayne's World.
Me neither.
Very fun. What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Very fun hangout movie. 3,000 Years of Longing is a hangout movie. Think about it. Think about it, Ethan. They're telling stories the whole movie.
I guess so.
Harold and Kumar, I guess. They have
The Guantanamo Bay one? Oh.
Nashville. Robert Altman's Nashville.
Ugh.
Shut up. You
Yucky.
just don't like country.
Yucky.
Easy Rider. I think the Before movies. Any Linklater could work, honestly. Like literally any Linklater I've seen.
Except for
could
School
work.
of Rock. I don't know if that's a hangout movie.
That feels like a normal movie.
That's a normal movie. It's normal now. Don't worry. I got a few more. Well, I mean, we already talked about Licorice Pizza. I feel like that's a really good hangout movie. Stand By Me. I feel like that's a hangout movie where it's like you're watching these kids, you know, and just learning who they are. Clerks. Brandon doesn't like it. I love that movie. Very good hangout movie. You know, they're hanging out.
Moonrise Kingdom.
Mayhaps, but I don't like that movie. But it could be. I could be considered one. I'm looking at a list of that people have listed as hangout movies. Is Happiness a hangout movie? I don't think that's a hangout.
No, Jesus, God, no, Jesus.
Why is it so shocking?
No, what
No,
the hell?
whoa. I mean,
I
what do they do? You know, they hang out. They just do.
That's
fucked up
one
shit.
way of putting it. That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like calling Magnolia a hangout movie.
It kind of is.
No.
If we're talking about like summertime and anthology stuff, Magnolia is a hangout movie. We're just watching these people live their lives. And
No, I that's different because I think there is like an overarching narrative for each of the storylines that they connect to, whereas like in Summertime, it's like more abstract, whereas here it's like it's very very much a narrative. It's just very heavily narrative. And honestly, I don't really think it's hanging out. People are doing stuff. They're doing too much stuff in that movie.
Yeah,
As ridiculous as that sounds.
that's true.
Okay.
All right.
White noise.
White noise? No, that's not a hangout.
No, I'm just saying that I was hearing white noise.
Oh no, I think
Because
I've
nobody
been
was
lagged.
talking.
No, I think I'm because I noticed that you guys took a minute to respond to me as well. I don't know. I'll fix it in
It's
post.
your Wi-Fi again.
It might be. Yay, Spectrum in LA. All right. Well, I don't know what we do now. We talked about all of our movies. See, this is the thing we got to figure out now. How do we end our show? There's no more final stack. I was about to say let's run down our picks, but now I guess we can run down our picks one more time. You know? No.
They don't deserve it. If they, here's what I'm saying. Like, if the listeners are like really listening,
Yeah,
they're not going to be
they'll
flipping to the
remember.
end of the episode. They're going to have to listen to the episode beginning to end, because I'm not repeating my picks just so that they could go, I watched your episode and repeated my picks verbatim.
Here's what I'll do. I'm setting up a new format. Little end thing. Now you guys have to, if you were to choose one of your own, it's sort of like the final stack. But if you could only recommend one of your films, let's end the episode like that. Of the ones that you talked about today, which one would you do? What is your quintessential hangout film? Which one would you
Summertime.
pick? Summertime is yours? Chris?
I think for me, I'm gonna do Come On, Come On.
You're gonna do Come On, Come On? Well, you know what? I'm gonna do Lost in Translation because I've talked about Lebowski enough, and I feel
thought
like
you
more
were
people
gonna-
need to watch that movie.
I thought you were just going to pick a random movie out of a hat.
I'm gonna do
Happy Feet 2.
Happy too. Hey, they, penguins. They hang out. I don't know. I didn't see it.
And like that, the episode is over.
And like that, the episode is over. Go home and go hang out with your friends and watch hangout movies. Thank you all so much for listening. Brandon,
Woo!
end it. Okay.
All right, get creative with sound effects there, Ethan.
Oh, you already know what sound effect I'm gonna use then.